The president clearly just fundamentally politically unable to contend. This is a president who can't persuade the first lady to live with him. You are not taking over our country and turning us into a dictatorship.
Dudes, I'm from Germany. Trust me, I've seen a lot. Drama, propaganda, manufactured outrage, even straight up lies. That's standard where I come from. But this, what you sometimes see on NSNBC, that's not journalism. That's emotional blackmail with a teleprompter. Just to be clear, I'm not on anyone's team. Not here to defend Trump or to bash the Democrats. But seriously, how does it help anyone to rile up millions of people 5 nights a week with dramatic music? If you know what to look for, it's obvious. Every pose, every punchline, every concerned look, all scripted, all rehearsed. Not to inform, but to divide. Not to explain, but to inflame. And honestly, I'm impressed. It's not just spin, it's theater. A masterpiece of manipulation. Let's take a look.
But there have now been so many thousands of protests involving so many millions of Americans. Now I think it's time to start having a national conversation of a different type, right? The strategy and the character of the opposition to Trump is not only self-evident as the most important story in the country, I think it's finally being recognized as the most important story in the country, which is nice. And, you know, you have the president clearly just fundamentally politically unable to contend with the depth and breadth of feeling against him, right? So these must be paid protesters or invaders from somewhere else, or they must all be violent criminals or whatever. No, actually, this is St. Louis, right? This is America. No kings, yes, queens, right? Like that. This is just us. It's who we are, and this is how we feel about you.
Wait, what? A 79-year-old man who, let's be honest, might not even finish his term, is about to become a dictator? All right, I'm joking, kind of. But seriously, when you hear the way some media outlet talks, you'd think the tanks were already rolling down the main street. Meanwhile, people like you and me, we're just trying to make a living. We don't have 6 hours a day to study policy papers. We work, we pay rents, we take care of stuff. And if we are being honest, it's kind of the same in Germany. Without making it sound too cynical, progressive movements are just way better at mobilizing. They have got funding, NGOs, community networks, sometimes even government support. Full-time infrastructure to organize, to show up, to fill the streets. And look, if I was being told 24/7 that my country was on fire, I'd probably be out there marching too. But that was just to warm up. Now it gets interesting. Watch her briefing, the pause, the distance there. It feels raw, authentic, emotional. And maybe it is. Maybe. But if you know how these scripts are made, 5 takes, timing cues, fades out to cover mistakes, you start to wonder, does she really believe what she's saying? Or is she just that good at performing it that we want to believe she does?
And so with all that proof in the pudding, right? With all of that evidence of where we are, it's now sort of time, if we haven't had it already, it is now time to really have a serious national conversation about where this all goes. Because this is not just like the resistance to Trump, right? Like this is the opposition to Trump. This is the other side. And if we're thinking about the two sides of this fight, well, politically, we're at a point where Trump, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but as a political figure, he looks sad and small, right? Nobody came to his $45 million military birthday party. He is a laughingstock on the world stage. He's being treated at the G7 right now like he's Putin's intern.
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Right, of course not. You're just calling him Putin's intern. Let me be straight with you. I spent 3 full years reporting daily on the Ukraine war. And I think I've got a pretty decent sense of how Trump is viewed internationally. And believe me, Germans are nervous around him. All of Europe respect him, even if the media pretends otherwise. On TV, he is the bumbling clown. But the moments Trump walks into the room, people are praying he doesn't swing the hammer their way. economically or rhetorically. And now he's supposedly Putin's puppet, just because he's not willing to sacrifice million more lives in the proxy war on Ukraine soil. Come on, that's not naive. That's consistent real politics. You can criticize it, but don't turn it into a punchline, please. Million people are dying. That's what I'm trying to say. This stuff sounds smart. It's emotional. It lingers. But in the end, it's just a string of polished exaggerations, wrapped in elegant language to keep the audience from switching the channel. Because apparently, that's what it takes now to stay relevant in American media. I think so. Everything has to be loaded, emotionalized, conditioned. And so the cycle continues, not to inform, but to inflame. And now, it's about to get even crazier. Check this out, please.
The White House just announced tonight that Trump is coming home early from the G7 meeting tonight after so embarrassing himself there today. I mean, this is a president whose signature economic policy, his supposed tariff policy, is a punchline even among Republicans. I mean, someday, 30 years from now, the whole lecture hall full of Econ 101 students is going to laugh out loud when the professor gets out the chalk and writes taco on the chalkboard and has to explain what the acronym TACO meant in the Trump years. For his signature economic policy that he thought would work so well for him, both politically and economically. It is a punchline. This is a president who can't persuade the first lady to live with him. This is a president whose supposed best friend says he should be impeached and, by the way, is in the Epstein files. I mean, this is a president whose approval ratings are more underwater than any other president ever at this point in his term.
Let's be honest, a few months ago, I remember Elon Musk was still being called a fascist technocrat, supposedly out to destroy the American democracy. And now he's supposed to be a moral compass that delegitimized Trump? Sure, use every trick in the book. But dragging Trump's wife into it, that's not brave, that's just cheap. And that's where the contradictions lies, criticizing Trump for lacking dignity towards his opponents, while sinking into the exact same mood. Look, I will say this even as a non-American. Maybe it's a line we can all agree on. Left, right, whatever. We don't suffer from a lack of opinions. We suffer all in the world from a lack of credibility in the Western world. And today, that's more valuable than gold. What we need are real men and women who stands for something without dividing, who gives orientation without ideologies, who lead without constantly moralizing. I believe, in Germany and in the US, that maybe we are just tired, exhausted, stuck in some kind of temporary burnout. And I hope we will snap out of it, together, not against each other. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if this gave you something to think about, don't forget to subscribe. See you all next time. Ciao.